Hello everyone. Today we are starting with the intertemporal choice of a Fisher. So this is the theory given by him in order to understand how the consumption decisions taken in one time period have an impact over the other time periods as well. Let us first understand few basic terms. So temporal means it is related to time, and intertemporal means decisions in one time period affecting the options availability in future. एक टाइम पीरियड में हम जो डिसीजंस लेते हैं वो हमारा फ्यूचर में कैसे इम्पैक्ट करता है. And in the case of consumption, it means that by not consuming today, consumption levels could increase significantly in future and vice versa. मतलब अगर हम अभी अपना कुछ इनकम का प्रपोर्शन कंज्यूम नहीं कर रहे हैं तो हम हमारी फ्यूचर में हम कंजम्पशन इंक्रीज़ करेंगे. अगर हम अभी ज़्यादा कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं इनकम से मे बी बोरो करके, तो फ्यूचर में हो सकता है हमें कंजम्पशन कम करनी पड़े. तो जो हमारा करंट टाइम पीरियड के कंजम्पशन डिसीजंस हैं वो फ्यूचर टाइम पीरियड में कंजम्पशन को कैसे इम्पैक्ट करते हैं, दैट इज़ एक्चुअली इंटरटेम्पोरल choice. Decisions taken in one time period have an impact over the other time periods as well. Now we have already discussed Keynesian consumption theory, and Keynes consumption theory relates current consumption with the current level of income. तो उसके अंदर रिमेंबर हमने किया था दैट टोटल कंजम्पशन इज़ इक्वल टू दिस सी बार कॉन्स्टेंट प्लस सी वाई. तो जो हमारा करंट लेवल का कंजम्पशन है वो करंट लेवल की इनकम को ही इम्पैक्ट कर रहा है. So in this manner, this Fisher's intertemporal choice is like an improvement over the Keynesian theory, because it is saying that the decision taken in one time period have an impact not only on the consumption in that time period but in the future time periods as well. Therefore, we say that Fisher's intertemporal choice is actually rational. Forward-looking consumers make intertemporal choice, that is, the decisions to consume and save considers both present and future. So there is a trade-off between consumption in present and consumption in future. The consumers should or must look ahead to the income they expect to receive in the future, and thus the consumption of goods and services they hope to afford in future. तो इसमें हमने क्या किया है, जैसे हम लोग माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स में डिस्कस करते हैं कि हमारे दो गुड्स होते हैं, वी टेक गुड X and good Y. Similarly over here we are saying that suppose the consumer is having two time periods and the consumption is a good. So over here we are going to take consumption in first time period denoted by C1 and consumption in second time period denoted by C2. So these are the two goods that the consumers are having in terms of consumption in period 1 and consumption in period 2, and he is having a total income denoted by Y. Obviously this income will be the income in first time period and income in second time period, and total consumption is in first time period and consumption in second time period. But the consumer allocates his total income in both the time periods, wherein it is not necessary that y1 will be equal to c1 and y2 will be equal to c2. इसके अंदर हमारे different cases हो सकते हैं such that y1 can be greater than c1 or y1 can be less than c1. If y1 is greater than c1, this means that the consumer is a saver, and if y1 is less than c1, which means that consumer will be a borrower. और ये डिसीजंस हमारा इम्पैक्ट करेंगे कि हम कंजम्पशन इन टाइम पीरियड 2 में कितना कर रहे हैं. दिस इज़ एक्चुअली व्हाट इज़ इंटरटेम्पोरल चॉइस रिगार्डिंग कंजम्पशन. नाउ लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड with proper theory. So it says Fisher's model, it says that there are constraints faced by the consumers, constraint in terms of say total income, and there are preferences of the consumer, preferences in terms of how much to consume in time period 1 and how much to consume in time period 2. So these two together determine their choices about consumption and saving. Now there is intertemporal budget constraint. Like in microeconomics, we derive the budget constraint P1 x1 plus P2 x2 is equal to income. Similarly, over here we are going to derive the intertemporal budget constraint. It represents various combinations of consumption and saving, or consumption in present, that is C1, and consumption in future, that is C2, available to the consumers given his total resources, that is total income. So over here basically our budget constraint is कंजम्पशन इन टाइम पीरियड 1, कंजम्पशन इन टाइम पीरियड 2, कैसे वो एलोकेट करते हैं अपने टोटल इनकम को इन दीज टू गुड्स. Now let us first derive this budget constraint. We are saying suppose income in period 1 is y1 and in period 2 is y2. Consumption in period 1 denoted by C1 and in period 2 denoted by C2. So if we say that suppose that a person is a saver, if he is a saver then y1 will be greater than C1. अगर उनका इनकम 2000 है और उनका कंजम्पशन सिर्फ 1500 है तो 500 रुपीज़ वो सेव कर रहे हैं. एंड इन पीरियड 2 हम कोई भी सेविंग का केस नहीं ले रहे हैं बिकॉज वी हैव एक्चुअली डिवाइडेड the entire time period into 2 time zones, that is period 1 consumption in present and period 2 consumption in future. Next we are saying that consumption in period 2 will be equal to 1 plus r into s plus y2. अभी जो हमने एग्जाम्पल लिया था उसमें हमने बोला था suppose y1 is equal to 2000 and c1 is equal to 1500, so total savings in period 1 will be 500. Now consumption in time period 2 will be y2, suppose y2 is 1000, so this will be y2 1000 plus जितना भी हमने सेविंग किया है that is 500 प्लस हमें जितना इंटरेस्ट रेट मिलेगा इस सेविंग्स पे, सपोज इंटरेस्ट रेट इज़ 5%, सो इट विल बी 0.05 इंटू 500. तो हमारा जो कंजम्पशन इन टाइम पीरियड 2 है दैट इज़ एक्चुअली y2 प्लस 1 plus r and savings. So this is exactly what we have written over here, that consumption in time period 2 is equal to this. Now these are certain assumptions written. The consumer does not save in the period 2 since there is no period 3, as it is assumed that there are only 2 periods. Also over here we are taking all the variables as real variables, that is adjusted for inflation. And since the consumer has the opportunity to save or borrow, so consumption in any period can be greater or less than income in that particular period. यहाँ पे हमने बेसिकली एज्यूम किया है कि वो सेवर है, हम इसको बोरोवर भी एज्यूम कर सकते हैं. So now we are saying if he is a saver then income will be greater than consumption, if he is a borrower then consumption will be greater than income. For simplicity it is assumed that savings rate is equal to borrowings rate. So what are we actually doing? We are deriving the budget constraint. We are deriving intertemporal budget constraint. So now this is our first equation. We are simply going to put this first equation in the second. So it becomes, this is our first equation, savings, and this is our second equation. तो हम क्या लिख रहे हैं? We are simply going to replace this savings with this equation. So it becomes C2 1 plus r y minus C1 plus y2, C2 1 plus r into y1 minus 1 plus r into C1 plus y2. Ultimately after rearranging we are getting consumers intertemporal budget constraints, which is C1 plus C2 divided by 1 plus r equal to y1 plus y2 divided by 1 plus r. If we are saying that interest rate is 0, then total consumption in 2 time periods, that is C1 plus C2 will be equal to total income in 2 time periods, that is y1 plus y2. अगर हम ये बोल देते हैं कि ये हमारा r 0 है तो आपकी यही वाली इक्वेशन आ जाएगी, total consumption equal to total income. Okay, now that consumers intertemporal budget constraint is clear, let us discuss it diagrammatically. So over here we are saying that this is the consumer's budget constraint. Over here we have taken first good, that is consumption in current time period, present time period, and this is C2, that is consumption in future. This line represents budget constraint, and over here this is y1, this is y2. If we are saying that the consumer is neither borrowing nor a saver, that is at a point y1 will be equal to C1 and y2 will be equal to C2. Then we are saying at point B, as we can see that consumer is consuming nothing in period 1. एक्स एक्सिस पे हमें फर्स्ट पीरियड कंजम्पशन लिया है ना, तो यहाँ पे ओरिजिन पे अगर हम पॉइंट बी पे हैं तो पॉइंट बी का ओरिजिन इज एक्चुअली डिस्प्लेइंग दैट इन दिस केस C1 इज इक्वल टू एक्चुअली 0 and whatever consumption is happening, that is happening in period 2. तो हो क्या रहा है, कंज्यूमर अपना सारा जो इनकम है फर्स्ट टाइम पीरियड का वो एंटायरली सेव कर रहा है, वो फर्स्ट टाइम पीरियड में कुछ कंज्यूम नहीं कर रहा है. तो ये जो हमने यहाँ पे एग्जाम्पल लिया था इन दिस केस, सो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग ओवर हेयर, if y1 is equal to 2000, c1 is 0 and s1 is the complete income. Therefore हम यहाँ पे क्या बोल सकते हैं, that c2 is equal to y2 plus 1 plus r, and this savings is actually income in first time period because he is saving everything. So we say that this intercept term over here is 1 plus r y1 plus y2 जो अभी ऊपर derive किया है, this has also been derived over here. At point C here we are saying that consumer is consuming nothing in time period 2 and he is consuming everything in time period 1. Thus in this case the intercept terms becomes this, as here C2 is equal to 0, which means that he is borrowing as much as possible against the income that he will be earning in time period 2. Hence C1 is equal to y1 plus y2 divided by 1 plus r. So now we are saying that all the points between A and C the consumer is borrowing. As you can see, between these points the consumption is actually greater than this income, and all the points between A and B the consumer is actually savings. As we can see that consumption at these points is less than this income, which means consumer is saving. So this represents consumer's intertemporal choice regarding consumption's budget constraint and all the opportunities he is having. Next, let us discuss consumer's preferences. Now, the consumer's preferences regarding consumption in the two periods can be represented by the indifference curves. An indifference curve, as we have already discussed in the microeconomics also, it shows the combinations of first period and second period consumption that makes the consumer equally happy. So all the points on this IC1 the consumer is equally happy, but he prefers IC2 as compared to IC1, and he is equally happy at all the points in IC2. The slope of this IC is marginal rate of substitution. So the slope of budget, this is between C1 and C2, and it shows the rate at which consumer is willing to substitute C2 for C1, the rate at which the consumer is willing to substitute consumption in time period 2 for consumption in time period 1. The slope at any point of IC shows how much C2 the consumer requires in order to compensate for 1 unit reduction in C1. Now, after deriving intertemporal's budget constraint and consumer preferences, let us discuss optimization. That is, which is that point wherein the consumer satisfaction will be maximum, how he should allocate his consumption in the two time periods using his total income. So this is optimization, wherein all these are showing the IC curve and this is actually showing the budget constraint. At optimum, IC is tangent to the budget constraint, which means that at the optimum point this slope of IC should be equal to slope of budget constraint. Slope of IC, as we know, is 1 plus r, and slope of budget line is slope of IC is MRS, marginal rate of substitution, and slope of budget line is 1 plus r, because actually this 1 plus r is deciding that how will consumer distribute his income. जब हम नॉर्मल माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स में स्लोप ऑफ बजट कॉन्स्ट्रेंट पढ़ते हैं, दैट इज़ एक्चुअली माइनस and the relative prices of the two goods, and similarly this 1 plus r is actually the relative price कि वो कैसे consume करेगा, कैसे allocate करेगा, वो ये interest rate decide करता है. Now suppose at the optimization point, at this point the slope of budget constraint and the slope of indifference curves are equal, which means that MRS should be equal to 1 plus r. So these points decide the consumption levels in the two time period. So this is how we derive how the consumer consumes in the two time period. Next is how changes in income affect the consumption level. This we are going to discuss in the next class.